I don't recommend, people are always surprised that I say this because CBD is CBD oil. They don't make CBD plants that grow only for pets and CBD plants that only grow for animals. CBD is CBD. But I don't recommend that people use human CBD for their dogs for one reason only. Sometimes the flavorings that they use for people can be toxic to animals. So to be safe, make sure it is for a pet, or make sure it has 0 flavorings in it. If you're going to use human stuff, if you happen to have some at home, make sure it has no flavorings in it for sure, so that you make sure that it's not toxic to your pet. But it's easier for me to just say make sure it's for pets, because then, it kind of takes out that possibility of it being a problem. You want to make sure that it looks, smells, and tastes. I always say that because there's a lot of them on the market that I like. I love Earth Buddy, and that's one you can use. But if you can't get a hold of Earth Buddy and you're just out there looking for one, you want to make sure that it is in a good color. It should look kind of like a plant color, like a greenish brown color. So when you look at it, when you smell it, it shouldn't smell like chocolate. It shouldn't smell like peanut butter. It shouldn't smell like anything that they have to put in it to make it taste and, kind of so they can use it for marketing, isn't giving your pet any benefit. All it is used is for marketing. So, and then it should taste. Some people don't want to use CBD, so I'm not encouraging you all to taste it, but it should not taste great. It should kind of taste like a plant. And that way you can kind of understand that this is less processing has been involved in it. So you probably have a good product. So let's talk about how CBD, why it doesn't work. One of the other reasons, so we already know now, CBD doesn't work for anxiety if you have the wrong kind. If you have one that is being just marketed to you and doesn't have the right combination in order to work for your pet. So we talked about that, but let's talk about how we use it. So one of the things you have to know about CBD is it is not a heavy drug. I can't be in this heightened state of anxiety where if I'm a dog and I'm breaking down the walls, and it doesn't work in that way that you can just be like, oh, come here, sweetheart, here's a couple drops, and then the dog's like, oh, that was nice, thanks, that feels so much better. That's not how CBD oil works. CBD is best used when given when the pet is not stressed, which seems weird, right? Like, why would I give it to my dog if he's not stressed? The reason why is because it takes a lot to bring anxiety down, and this isn't, like I said, a heavy drug. So one of the things you can do is anticipate the problems. So that's the first thing you can do, is anticipate. My dog gets nervous every time I leave, so I'm going to give this to him about an hour before he leaves. And then, so you're anticipating that anxiety. If you leave every day at the same time, then you know when to give it to him. But the other thing you can do with CBD is, and we do this for our dogs who are boarding with us, is we will give them CBD oil, and then we will take them for a walk. A lot of people do that the opposite, but in order for CBD to start working, you need your pet to be in that calmer state. So we can mimic those calm states, right? When we do exercise, that happens to us too. If we're in a really anxious, state of mind and we go exercise, you feel better for a while, but then that anxiety can come back. But if you've been given the CBD before you exercise, a lot of times the anxiety won't go back up. And so if you have a pet who's having anxiety issues, I want you to give the CBD and then do something that is going to take their mind off of their anxiety, whether that's a walk, whether it's playing a game with them. But what it isn't going to be is feeding them. I don't want you to feed them yet. So you give them the CBD, and then you take them for a good, rigorous walk with intent. So there's 2 types of walks, and one, right, is letting them sniff and kind of la 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 and being kind of, in that state of mind. And then the other one is mimicking kind of like the hunt, which I like you to do, is take these animals, take your stressed animal. I tell people this a lot. I just had a consultation today with a dog who has a little bit of anxiety, and we're talking about these backpacks that you can get on Amazon. They're these fabulous little backpacks. They look like saddles for a horse, and they go over the top of your dog, and then they harness, they snap in, and then they have little side things that you can put water bottles or anything that is a little bit heavy. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start teaching your dog that this is a job he has to do, because we're going to trick his mind. We're going to get him to stop licking his paws and thinking about that. So we're going to trick his mind into thinking he has a job to do. And what he's doing right now is hunting for his food, okay? So when you go for this walk, it has to be very regimented, very point A to point B. We're not stopping, we're not sniffing the roses, I'm not talking to my neighbor. I'm going to keep my dog straight to me, and I'm going to walk as fast as I can. That's different for all of us, because everybody's got a different pace that they can take, but get the highest pace that you can do, and put the backpack on with some kind of weighting on the side, and you can increase the weight. So you want to start off maybe just with the backpack so they can get used to having this strange thing on their back. And then you walk with a purpose, and you want to walk as long as you can do it. So you cannot wear your dog out. If you have an old dog, then you go as long as the old dog can go. And if that's 2 feet, then that's 2 feet. But you just match his level of what he can do. And then when you come back, then I want you to get some feeder bowls. These are really, there's so many of them. Puzzles, feeder bowls, they're called. Anything that we can do to now make his feeding an event. So dogs especially, cats are not super social, but cats love to hunt. So if this is something you're going to be doing with your cat, then you also want to feed them in a way that requires them to do a little bit of work for their food. So you want to get one of these feeder bowls, and depending on how much money you want to spend, you can get all different kinds of feeder bowls, and they can be super hard. I mean, some of them are so hard that I'm like, oh my gosh, this dog's never going to figure it out. And then they do, and I'm very impressed. But you get the feeder bowl, and then when you come back, you want to put the food in the feeder bowl so that we just did a dog the other day. It took him 20 minutes to eat his food. And normally, his name's Ozzy. Normally, Ozzy will eat his food in 10 seconds flat. Boom. And then he's like, right? Because he's like, okay, that was fun. I guess I'll lick my paw now. But if we can do the CBD oil, the stimulating the hunt, that's brain stimulating, bring him back, make his food take a while, and then changing his diet, we can start to shift your animal's boredom and his anxiety into a different realm, so to speak.